Every now and then the goofballs in mainstream media have a light bulb moment where they realize something that is so incredibly basic and obvious to the rest of the political world. When I say the political world, I mean normie outsiders even know this. But if you are a conventional wisdom Kool-Aid drinker, you have to deny the obvious on many fronts. So here's Jake Tapper, CNN host Jake Tapper, and he's going to talk to National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. And Tapper stumbled across an interesting fact, which is clearly bothering him. He's going to ask Jake Sullivan about, hey, what's up? Seems like there's some pretty bad accounting going on at the Pentagon. There's $3 billion that's sitting around for Ukraine that we didn't even know about the thing. And he has an enlightenment moment. He's like, oh, is the Pentagon corrupt? Yeah, Jake, you don't say. Let's watch.
You were talking about aid to Ukraine a minute ago. There was this very bizarre admission from the Pentagon this week of an accounting error that suggested that the U.S. has at least $3 billion that it didn't know it had that it can use for Ukraine aid. That's a hell of an accounting error, and it provides a lot of fodder to critics of U.S. aid to Ukraine and critics who say there's not enough oversight going on. Are you concerned about this accounting error?
Well, one thing I just want to make clear, that is not money that went out the door and disappeared. That is not a waste of that $3 billion. It is simply a tally of how much military equipment we have given them. And the way that the Pentagon was counting it was, what's the replacement cost for the equipment we provide, rather than just the actual cost of that equipment. Once you make that adjustment, it turns out we have an additional $3 billion that we can spend to provide even more weapons to Ukraine. And at the end of the day, not one penny of U.S. dollars will have gone missing or have been misallocated. It will all be provided in the form of equipment to Ukraine on the battlefield. But of course, it would be better to get it right in terms of the accounting up front. In the end, though, the Pentagon discovered the error, the Pentagon corrected the error, and Ukraine will get what it needs, and the American taxpayer will be able to be confident that this money is being spent effectively and appropriately.
I love this. I love this. Hey, we looked under the couch, and it turns out we found $3 billion just sitting around. So you know what? We can cut some checks to homeless people. Would they ever say that? Ever? No, not in a million years. Jake Tapper's like, this does kind of give fodder to the critics that, the people saying you just sort of got a blank check going over to Ukraine. It's just $3 billion accounting error? Jeez, man. Wow. This is an incredible clip. Now, by the way, at the same time this came out, 60 Minutes, to their credit, just did a big bombshell report. A 60 Minutes investigation exposed that the Pentagon and taxpayers get taken advantage of by U.S. defense contractors. You mean that thing that was blatantly obvious, at the very least going back to the War on Terror days, is still the case? You don't say. So when we did reconstruction of Afghanistan and lost, hundreds of billions of dollars? When we spent $7 trillion in Iraq, you're telling me some percentage of that money went to nefarious actors who were just effectively stealing from the taxpayers? Guys, I've told you guys the stories. Go watch the documentary Iraq for Sale, The War Profiteers. Knock yourself out. You're going to learn a lot about the way the system really works. They would hire these contractors. They'd give no bid contracts out, so they just give them to their political cronies, nepotism 101. And then they would have, for example, the bases in Iraq. They would have shoddy wiring in the camps, and some people got electrocuted and killed. Our soldiers electrocuted and killed in the showers. They would charge forget the exact number, like $100 or something for a 6-pack of Coke. They would charge taxpayers $100. This is what was going on. This was the nature of the beast. War profiteering. Republican President Dwight Eisenhower warned of the military-industrial complex. That war becomes a business. So there's a little clip they put out here. Now, 60 Minutes usually hits people with copyright strikes. So, I hesitantly show you this, but what the clip I'm going to show you is less than 12 seconds, which means it's fair use, even like legally and technically. That's the rule, or at least it used to be the rule. I don't know if they changed the second threshold for it. But this is just a little piece of the sort of stuff that goes on. So first he's going to bring up NASA. NASA has a part that they pay X amount for. You're going to see that. And then he's going to tell you what the Pentagon pays for it.
Well, their oil switch with all of the cabling costs $328. This oil switch, we paid over $10,000 for it.
$328 is what it actually costs. The Pentagon paid $10,000 for that part. It's beyond parity. And they got all the deficit hawks and we need to get our government spending under control. We need to do that. And in order to do that, we're going to have to shove your grandma into poverty. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's just how it works. I'm not sure I tell you. Grandma's going to have to go with one less meal per day. Because it's just a fiscal reality. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Anyway, give another $10,000 to the contractor to give us that thing that cost $328. This is where we are in this country, man. This is where we are. The first place you would go, if you were serious, which they're not, about deficit and debt reduction, is the military. You guys remember this report? We just covered it not too long ago. This is in Responsible Statecraft. The Pentagon fails its 5th audit in a row. 5th. In the Defense Department, if the Defense Department can't get its books straight, how can it be trusted with a budget of more than $800 billion per year? Now, I've been giving an incorrect statistic for a while, and I've been saying 59% of the Pentagon's money is unaccounted for. I'm wrong. It's 61% of its $3.5 trillion in assets is unaccounted for. We're being conned. We're being scammed. And they know they get to hide behind, support the troops. Yes. Support the troops. Do you hate our military? Are you an American? Yes. They get to hide behind that when people like me come out and say, hey, I think you guys are a bunch of crooks. I think you guys are a bunch of scam artists. That's what I think. They get to flip it on me. It's, oh, you must hate our troop. You must want Americans to die. No, I want you to stop robbing us. Robbing the taxpayer. When even CNN host Jake Tapper's like, this is kind of weird over here, bro. Wait until Jake Tapper learns 61% of Pentagon money is unaccounted for, and they failed 5 audits in a row. Or maybe he did learn it, and he didn't bring anything up about it. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. But certainly this clip makes me think, if he did know about it, perhaps he'd cover it. Perhaps he'd cover it. You want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse? Remember that it was over $1 trillion they spent on the F-35-2 plane, and it, couldn't fly in the rain or something like that. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? We got to rein this stuff in, man. And look, there's a lot of debate all the time on the left about crime. But you know what? I actually fancy myself tough on crime. I'm tough on crimes that should actually be crimes. Like, for example, war criminals. Throw the book at them. Like, for example, war profiteers. Throw the book at them. Like, for example, corrupt politicians. Throw the book at them. Like, for example, Wall Street criminals. The banksters. Throw the book at them, too. Head should roll over this. Head should roll over this. And there they are. You heard his reaction. He's like, hey, with $3 billion, which, again, is nothing in the grand scheme of things. Can't account for 61% of their money. $3 billion. What, you just find that under the couch? Yeah, but the thing about the thing and the beep. Look away, Jake. That was a reaction. That was a reaction. And they have the nerve. They're debating it right now. They're discussing it right now. They're discussing a deal for the debt limit, which would cut social safety net programs. Originally, they wanted to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, but Donald Trump and Joe Biden were united on that. We're not going to do that. Thankfully, they dropped that. But then it became, let's, do work requirements for food stamps or whatever. So they're coming for programs for the poor, even though this is the reality of our government right now. And you wonder why so many people are disillusioned and don't want to have anything to do with politics. It's because of stuff like this. There's an intuitive sense people have about how screwed over they are. And they're right. They might not know the specifics. They might not know the details. They might not know the numbers. But it's true. That sense they have is true. Heads should roll. Heads should roll over this. People should be in prison. They should be behind bars. And it's time for a reckoning. with the history of this sort of stuff. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.